Hello fam and welcome to Istanbul, Turkey. I'm Josh.
And I'm Ashley. Welcome to the Way. If you haven't already, be sure to subscribe, give us a like, and hit that bell so you can follow more of our adventures. But today we are going to be talking about when you arrive to a brand new country, your first concern is going to be, how do I get from the airport to where I'm staying? And so I thought making a whole video on the public transportation here in Istanbul would be super helpful for those of you who have never been to this city, really want to come, but don't know how to get from place to place.
Like many major cities, Istanbul has several different airports. It's good to know which one you're flying into, just so you can make an informed decision about where you stay. But we're going to talk about all the transportation available in Istanbul first, starting with how to get from your airport to where you're staying.
So when arriving to Istanbul, there are many options of how to get from the airport to where you're staying. One of the options that they do not have, I believe, is metro. We've never found a metro that goes from the airports because they're so far outside of the city. But the cheapest option that we found is taking the bus. There are public transport buses that run from the airports every 10 to 15 minutes, and they can be as little as 25 Turkish lira, which is about $4, to get really far in the city. So that's the option we usually choose to get from the airport to where we're staying. So now you're saying, Ashley, how do I know what bus to take when I'm at the airport? Well, there's a website called Airmundo that's proven very helpful for me to figure out what bus I need to go to what area. So we are staying in Kadıköy, and all I have to do is look on the cheat sheet that they have that shows a bus from Istanbul New Airport to Kadıköy, which makes it super duper easy to find the right bus. As well as we like Google Maps, we use Google Maps, and it has no problems here in the city.
And then also that you can just sort of walk outside, see where all the buses are, and then just ask once you know the neighborhood that you're going to.
Asking people is a great way of finding out how to go places, but also keep in mind that sometimes people don't know what they're talking about and they'll just give you the answer.
Especially if you say, I like to go to Kadıköy, and they say, Kadıköy? No, Kadıköy. Kadıköy? No, Kadıköy.
There are things that are named very similar names here, and so it's hard to decipher, but just do your research ahead of time.
If you're a traveling couple, you'll spend about $8 in order to take the bus together, but if you want to step it up just a little bit, you can get a taxi for around $10 to $20 depending on where you're going. The one thing that you need to know is when you're leaving the airport, you pretty much need cash right away. If you're going to pay for the bus when you get on the bus, you need cash, and if you're going to get an Istanbul card to pay for the bus, you need cash to get the Istanbul card. So it's best to look ahead and see which ATMs work with your bank, and hopefully you don't get any fees, and that's the way you can get the most for your money at the airport, because airport exchange rates typically aren't known as being the best.
They're not great.
To get a taxi from the airport is actually pretty simple. Now, one thing that you need to know is don't be lured in by all the people yelling at you to get a taxi as you walk through the airport. There's a high service charge. It's usually about 2 to 4 times more expensive than getting an actual taxi. The way to do it is walk past all the people selling you, go to the actual taxi stand outside, like where you get picked up from, and then just get into the nearest available taxi. The meter is on the rear view mirror, so don't be scared if you don't see it. It's just a little bit of digital display in the rear view mirror. And if you want, you can order a taxi with an app called Buy Taxi. You need to set up a payment option, so double check if you can actually get that working before you leave. And you need to know that the Wi-Fi at the airport for visitors is not very accessible. You need a Turkish phone number in order to verify your use of the internet, so it's basically worthless if you're a visitor. So have everything planned out, have your address that you're going to either printed or saved on your phone, and just show it to the taxi driver. It's relatively simple. Even if there's a language barrier, it's really not a problem at all. So getting cash at the airport is very important. You're gonna need cash to pay for the bus or to pay for the taxi. I don't know if they take credit card or not. I've never used credit card, it's only been cash. On the buses and pretty much all the other services that you're taking, you can use the Istanbul card, which you mentioned, but you need cash in order to buy this. So once you have cash, you can get pretty much everything you need. As we've been traveling around, I think it's funny to hear the words for different things. So in many different languages, ticket is like billet, or I don't know how exactly to say it, but this machine is called the Billetomatic. Ooh, very fancy. But this is where you get your Istanbul card. It's in Turkish, but it's really easy to change to English. There's a button over here right next to the Turkish flag, the top and the bottom ones, and it goes in the direction of the language. Once you're settled on English, it's really easy. You get an Istanbul card for 6 TL, you push that button, you pop some money in here, and then usually you won't have 6 TL in cash. Like you'll have 10 or 20 TL, right? Or maybe even 50. If you put that in, it's gonna take the whole thing. It's gonna give you a card for 6TL and then apply the rest as credit. And
so don't put in a huge bill.
If you can avoid it, don't put in a huge bill. So then once you have this card, you can use it for pretty much anything. You gotta flatten this bill out. One thing you'll know if you've been here more than a day is that these machines are a bit temperamental. So I'm gonna try and top it up.
Kartınızı yaklaştırınız.
Okay, put the card on
İşleminiz
there.
yapılıyor. Sadece kağıt para girişi yapınız.
And then try and put 20 in. If it takes the first time, I'll be amazed.
İşleminiz yapılıyor. Lütfen bekleyiniz.
Whoa!
Kart yüklemeniz gerçekleşti.
That's the first time that's ever happened. All right.
Also, if you turn it to English, she speaks to you in English.
If you turn it to English,
But you had
I
it
knew
on
the button because I've done it a million
Yeah.
times now.
Now that we've put some money on our Istanbul card, we are going to take the metro. There are 3 different types of main transportation that you'll be taking while in this city. You'll be taking the metro, you'll be taking tram lines, or the buses.
Around 50 cents US per pop, getting around the metro is really easy, and it's a great way to get around the city at large. But within the tourist areas, we find that trams are a nice way too.
If you want to go to really popular places, we found that trams are a great way to get to places like the Blue Mosque, Hagia Sophia, Taksim Square, and other areas within the city that are very popular for tourists. But as you can see, they're a very busy form of transportation.
Again, about 50 cents USD per pop. Very busy, but really fun. You get to see great sights the whole way on the tram. Excellent way to just kind of see the city.
Some cities, if you go on public transportation, you can transfer from thing to thing just off of one swipe of your card. But here, you have to swipe your card every single time, so you're paying for every transfer you go to.
But thankfully, it's not too expensive. Outside of the metro and the tram, the bus is probably the most common way that locals will get around, and you may use it as a tourist. But again, it's the same thing. Once you have your Istanbul card, you can tap to pay. Now, you can also pay cash on the bus, but if you have the Istanbul card, it's way easier. The bus system is a little bit harder to figure out, I've found, than most other modes of transportation. But if you use Google Maps or a local app, it's called Travi, you can use that to help find your destination and then look for the bus line that it says. That's usually up above in the top left corner of the main window. You can see what the bus line is, and then when you get on, just ask, is this the place? Does this go here? Like, you can point and try and say it, and someone will probably help you out. We've already talked about the 3 main types of transportation, the metro, the trams, and the buses. Great ways to get around the city. But what you may not know is that Istanbul is split up among 2 continents, the European continent and the Asian continent. And so what they have is 2 different types of transportation that will help you get across this large body of water that splits the 2 continents. It's called the Bosphorus. And so there's 2 types of transportation. The Marmaray, which is an underground subway, and then ferry boats, which are really fun. So right now we're gonna take the Marmaray, and it's gonna take us from one side to the complete opposite continent.
Complaint about the Marmaray is that it's not a glass tube, so it's like this aquarium that you're going through. It's just, you know, like a regular metro, but it goes super fast and it's underwater. You just can't see the water at all.
At about $1 USD per pop at current exchange rates, the Marmaray is the fastest way to get across the Bosphorus.
The Marmaray great option to get across the Bosphorus by going under the water. But my favorite form of transportation here in Istanbul is going over the water on the ferries.
Near dusk and with a city this beautiful, it's easy to see why Ashley loves the ferries so much.
Nice.
It's not expensive, it's like the same price as pretty much everything. I think it's around $1 or so. It's just beautiful to see the sun going down.
If you're lucky, you can see dolphins.
Yeah.
And coming out during this time is the most beautiful time to take the ferry boat, although I think every time of the day is amazing to come
For
on
sure,
these ferries.
absolutely.
And that the ferries actually, public transportation not only takes you from place to place in the city, different neighborhoods in the city, but there are also islands outside of the city that you can be taken to with public transportation, as well as you can do a Bosphorus tour up to the Black Sea, all the way close to the Black Sea. So it's a great deal and awesome that it's a part of public transportation.
Yeah. That is it from public transportation in Istanbul. You'll find it's actually really simple and really easy. And one of the cool things about the Istanbul card is once you have it, you only need it for you and your whole group. You can tap several people through at once.
Yeah, so definitely only buy one Istanbul card and put enough money on there for all the people in your party. It makes it super simple.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I think that public transportation is used by all the locals here. It's very simple and easy. And I hope that this video really gave you the confidence to come to Istanbul and figure your own way out how to get from place to place. It's super easy and simple.
It can be a little intimidating to come to a new city and try and figure out the system, but we think that Istanbul is actually one of the simplest. Once you kind of wrap your head around how the language works and you're like, oh, what's that word, the system itself is very well laid out.
Yeah, we love the city. I love the ferry boats. So even if you don't need to take a ferry boat somewhere, just take one and do a round trip just for the experience. But Boy Fam, I hope we encouraged you to get out and travel today, and we will see you in the next video. More videos from Istanbul to come.
All right.
Bye.